Samsung Galaxy Note 4 presents a note from the CEO.
Joining me today is a man who I'm sure is living the dream of most men out there. Founder and CEO of Games2win, Alok Kejriwal. Alok, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks.
So Alok, you play games for a living.
Absolutely. Can you imagine, waking up in the morning on a Monday, really cruel Monday, going to work and then saying, what's the new game I'm going to play? So, as a gaming entrepreneur, as a guy who's, trying to build a fortune, well, I hope a fortune, but at least a business on games, that's what I do. I make games and I play games.
Tell us, and how did the idea of Games2win evolve?
So I did a lot of, when I was a 98 series entrepreneur, old wine actually, vintage guy. And at that time we did a lot of stuff for brands. I had a company called contesttowin.com that was pretty popular at that time. It had a successful exit. Disney bought a part of their company. The one thing I learned was that doing brand work wasn't satisfying. Everything was, it's fun to do stuff that a brand needs, but sometimes the consumers don't like it. And I was doing advert games, just making games for brands. So when I got an exit, I had some money, and I said, look, let's restart. Now let's keep the consumer up front and let the brand come later. So can we make games that consumers love? And therefore we said Games2win, which games would be the kind of games that consumers like.
Great, that's amazing. So what are some of your favorite games to play on your mobile especially?
So personally, well, I'll first make my own dig and then I'll talk about the rest. 2 years ago we got really lucky with one of our games called Parking Frenzy. It's a 140 level game which makes you just park cars, and it's crazy. I mean, you'll be laughing when I tell you this, but it became a #1 in the US iTunes store, #1 app, #1 game. Stayed there for at least almost a week. It has 22 million downloads, and it's just fun, and it's fun because it's impossible. So the golden rule in gaming is easy to learn, impossible to master, and that's the kind of game that makes people happy. Personally, I love a game called 8-Ball Pool by Miniclip. It's a favorite of mine. I probably play it 6 to 8 times a day. And when I'm in board meetings, I'm playing the game. So that's how addictive it is.
We're in this beautiful ground of the Art of Living Center in Bangalore. And I believe, Alok, you're quite closely connected to the group. Yes. Can you tell us something about this association?
So I've been a very fortunate, Art of Living follower and meditator for the last 14 years. This is my 14th or 15th year. Shri Ravi Shankar is the founder, and as you can see, the grounds are beautiful. This is the ashram in Bangalore. The art of living is actually it's what it says it is. It's the art of living. It's not about propaganda or anything else. That there's no voodoo or there's nothing mystical about it. It's a simple exercise or a meditation. Well, you can call it a meditation. It's actually a breathing technique that Shri has learned and therefore imparted to the world, which just helps you in many ways. Personally speaking, as an entrepreneur and as an internet entrepreneur, the reason I've stuck around and the reason I keep coming back for more is because it's creative. It just unleashes a kind of creativity that I've never experienced. It makes me remain calm because being a startup CEO is a really taxing job, and it just makes you think of things with different dimensions.
A man like yourself who's always on the move, you might be at the center here, you're always traveling for work. How do you manage to stay connected and on top of things at all times?
So I think using phones like these, for sure, the real benefit of being a .com startup CEO, and I live on the cloud, literally. I mean, if I'm not in a plane every few weeks, I feel insecure. So I want to be in a plane. And everything is in here, right? So I can access office documents. I can obviously check my games. I can look at App Store ranks. I can, reply to mail for sure. A lot of, conversation is on WhatsApp, and a lot of conversation is, so-called casual, which you can just capture and email someone. So the office is here, and I don't need to be physically present. In fact, to be really honest with you, the more I'm outside of the office, the more productive I am. Because creativity comes here.
So what is known today is that even the ashram is getting into the new age.
Right.
Even the ashram is being very well connected these days. What is your role in this, and how do you see them really developing?
So actually that's a great question, and we have, the Art of Living is a phenomenal example of how connected this whole digital world and the spiritual world is. We have the world record for the largest Google Hangout meditation in the world. 135 countries, over 50,000 participants, all simultaneous. We did India's first Twitter town hall, where Shrishi and someone was, anchor were answering questions. We did a face-to-face Facebook with Shrishi. So I think the challenge and the opportunity is that when people like myself and thousands and millions come to such places, and they want to meet each other and they want to meet their guru, it's not physically possible. That's what technology does.
So some of the games that you've created must have been inspired by your world here with the ashram and all this kind of spiritual inspiration. Can you give us an example of one of those?
Yeah. So I think one of the inspirations that you get when you come to such beautiful places like this is not to resist anything. It's to go with the flow. To accept things as they are. To kind of keep a mentality of saying positive rather than always kind of crossing out things and being negative. So as a Mumbai guy, I'm really frustrated by parking. It's such a frustrating problem, right? You just can't find parking. If you find parking, you can't squeeze your car in there, and so on and so forth. And when I kind of I carried that frustration with me here, and when I came around and started meditating and started meeting the folks here, it became a very beautiful. It converted, and I said, why can I not use the frustration as a game engine? Because games always are difficult, right? Games are never easy.
So tell us then, what do you have in the pipeline? What's next? What's coming up in 2015?
So, the market has exploded. India is a completely crazy market for games. Very young demographic, very, very technologically savvy audience. Everybody loves games, so we're getting deluged by downloads. We're focusing on what we know best. I think 2015 will be, better what you know rather than do more than everything else. So we're going to do a lot of cricket. We're going to do a lot of car and parking games. And one aspect I never talked about was this whole genre of dress-up games. So, I started my company when my two daughters were almost like 12 and 8. And I saw them growing up. And when I saw them growing up, I saw them playing with games, but with dolls, and they were in that age. And we did a lot of dress-up games that have done really well. So dress-up for us is a very big category. And yeah, we're going to make more of them and better of them.
So Alok, can you tell us then, how has the Samsung Note 4 facilitated your business?
So this is Android. Samsung leads the Android market. It's definitely the number one. And India is is an Android market. So if I want to be in India, if I want to be the number one games company, I have to be on Samsung, and I have to be kind of playing my stuff on their phones, because that's the only way I know how my consumers are playing our games. So for me it's my default Android choice, and that's it. It's so simple. We have to be on Samsung. It's a businessman's choice.
So what are some of the best features of the phone? What are the features that you're particularly impressed with?
I love the size. It's just the beauty of being able to kind of play with such a large screen. Most games are now becoming so we call them universal builds, which is one build that works on a small phone as well as on a tab. Because consumers don't have the time to go in different app stores and look for different games. So it's supposed to be universal, which means when the game gets downloaded, it detects which screen size you have. Now, great games are made for big screens, right? Games are made for console. They shrunk them into phones. This is a beautiful size to have a gaming experience and not feel compromised. You don't have to squint your eyes and say, what am I trying to play here? So I think the size of the screen, which is not a phablet and neither a tablet, but it's in between like a great big chunky phone, is what I think is its best kind of quality and USP.
Right, great. Okay, well, on that note, before we leave, we must take a selfie, given the tone of what we've been discussing.
Samsung Galaxy Note 4 presents a note from the CEO. Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.